The second idea I want to share with you today is to sell the total product. And this comes from another marvelous book called The Marketing Imagination by Theodore Levitt. And at the center of this model, the core, is what Levitt calls the generic product. And this is the actual physical stuff that you're selling. It's undifferentiated, it's unbranded, it's interchangeable, it's generic. And in the domain of the generic product, all things being equal, price will always become the battleground. And you cannot win that game. There's always someone somewhere with deeper pockets who can give the product away and still stay in business. You can't win there. Now, the good news is that the customer brings to the transaction a set of expectations. Because it doesn't take any brains to sell on price alone. Like this guy says, this DVD player sells for less than DVD players costing twice as much. Train your salespeople, give them some product knowledge so that price doesn't always become the battleground. And you don't want these people as customers. There are several reasons why you don't want price shoppers to buy from you. They gobble up your capacity, for one thing. They do all the complaining, you've noticed that. They require you to stock up, right? You buy special feedstocks for them, and or you do a long run, and they want you to manage the handling of the product to them, and then they come back and blackmail you on price after you've made that investment. And then they forget to pay. Talk to your accountant. Anybody on your books who are more than 150 days in AR, cut them off. That has already eaten up whatever margin you had, even if you're maintaining a healthy 35 points plus. They brag about the deal. They talk about it on the street. There goes your reputation. And they steal your ideas, your information, and your knowledge. Right? So you go to them with a very great creative idea, and then they'll shop it down the street, try and get it cheaper. And worst of all, you establish a precedent that's almost impossible to overcome. And you know what? They're not going to buy from you again anyway. So what's the point? Even if you win the deal, if it doesn't have a decent margin in it, then you lose both ways. So you just stay away from these people. Do not get trapped in the sand trap here of selling on the basis of price where it's nothing but a commodity. You can't make any money there. Now, the upside is that the customer brings to this transaction a set of expectations, what Levitt calls the expected product. And you ever shop for bread at the grocery store? Right? Okay, what do you expect from a loaf of bread? Fresh? How do you know it's fresh? You squeeze it, and then you get the next loaf. What else do you expect? Good taste, right? What else? Shout it out. You look at the date, okay? So it's not past, it's sell by date. What else do you expect? Do you expect it to be sliced? Wrapped? What do you expect to pay for a loaf of bread? Talk to me. $2, $2.50. In California, you can pay $4 a loaf for the healthy stuff. It's got twigs and leaves in it. Where do you expect to find the bread? In the bakery section. What else do you expect for them to have in the bakery section? More bread, yeah, the challah and the pumpernickel and the rye. And while we're at it, the donuts and the cookies and the bagels and all the rest, right? And right next to that is the pastrami and the mayonnaise and the mustard and all the rest of the stuff that you need to go with the bread, of course. Now, what do you expect of the store? Service, right? Short lines. Clean. What else? Selection, right? Good prices, ample parking, good security, on-site ATM machine, open when? 24 hours a day. God, you people are hard to please. And the point here is simple. Even a product as simple as a loaf of bread carries with it this market basket of expectations. And here's one you should write down. Unmet expectation equals dissatisfied. If the customer doesn't get what they expected, it doesn't matter what the price was, they will be disappointed. And compounding this problem, I would bet money, since we're in Las Vegas, that you don't know what your customers expect. Or I'll give you this, maybe you think you know what they expect, but it's a moving target. Their expectations are being driven by factors outside of the specialty graphics industry. A great example is, I don't understand why the hotel industry hasn't figured out how the way that the rental car people do it. Right? I get off an airplane, I go to the Hertz bus, they drop me off, here's my name up there in lights, and a late model luxury sedan with the keys in it and the engine running and the air conditioning on, and I just get in and I drive away. Because I belong to their club. I have their card, they know where I live. Right? I pay extra for that. Then I drive to a 4-star, 5-star luxury hotel, doesn't matter, Marriott, Westin, New York for that matter, and I have to stand in line. Oh, and do you have your ID and your credit card, Mr. Wilson? Oh, and I'm sorry, the room will not be ready until 3 o'clock. It's like, but you can have a seat in the bar and wait. That's why I'm an alcoholic. They just can't. Why can't they figure that out? See, even hospitals now are taking a lesson from the hotel industry. Companies like HealthSouth, Humana, particularly in their birthing centers, they are now offering valet parking at the emergency room. Because when your contractions are 5 minutes apart, you don't want to have to look for a parking space. Brilliant, right? So figure out what your customers expect, and the best way to do that is to ask them. Ask them about their last experience. Ask them who they've been buying with. Ask them for the worst experience they've ever had with a vendor like you. Ask them what they expect. What criteria will they use to judge your performance on your product? And then make sure that you deliver 100% of what they expect. And if they expect more than what you're charging for, then what do you have to do? You have to charge for it. Ask them, before you quote the job, you go over all the specifications and then ask them, well, what do you expect? What would you expect to pay for 750 color vinyl banners with hole pockets welded into them? So, I don't know, $70,000? I'm pick a number out of thin air. They will surprise you more often than not. The number that they expect to pay will be less than what you would have quoted. Boy, that's an eye-opener right there. The expected product. Make sure you sell that. Don't violate their, like this guy, he says, I know it's technical support, but for $3.50 a minute, I expect you to talk dirty. Oh, I see some of you have been on that hotline, right? See, because what the customer really wants from you, they want 2 or more vendors. No one can stay in business and just depend on one vendor. They've got to have a backup. They want technical and design help from you. They want on-time delivery. They want to minimize their own downtime if your products are critical to their operation. Sometimes they want to buy what they've been told to buy, no substitutions, no exceptions allowed. They want to feel like they're doing something. It's their job. That's why they ask you to give them a discount. They've got to get the best deal that they can. But they also want to minimize inventory and carrying costs. That's why we're seeing workflow management, or what's the term I'm looking for? Materials management, just-in-time delivery, distribution management, where you design, create the product, you digitally distribute it to 50 different cities, the production occurs there, and then it's warehoused locally, and the customer gets it just in time. And now they're not overprinting, beyond the expiration date of the point of purchase materials and throwing away $500,000 of collateral that they can't use. That's the future of this business. They also want certainty on mission-critical items. When it absolutely, positively has to be exactly right, they need to be able to trust you with that. They want to avoid over-engineering the solution. Sometimes, they don't need a durable sign. They just, they need foam core, or they just need, a flimsy fabric flag, and it's going to work just fine for them. Don't oversell it. They also need timely and accurate billing and accounting. They need predictability and consistency when they're doing, like a museum that's doing several promotions over the course of a year. And they need to maintain their branding internally. And they need responsive, courteous, timely action from vendors when they have a problem. When they need help, they want you to be there for them. And don't forget this, they need to look good to their scorekeepers. Never underestimate the value of just making your customer look good.